We are making progress, but not quite as far along as I had hoped by now. I apologize for the delay in an update. It's amazing when you move how many pictures you have and how delicate they are. So put a whole bunch of train related items that I had in the old house. Good place to put them in the new house. Seeing that this house is a little bit smaller, they are in the basement steps. And these are non-train related, but relegated to the basement, and appropriately so. So I have completed quite a few steps. Gotten everything framed, sheetrocked, taped and spackled, painted. Started doing ceiling track for dropped ceiling. Had to pull the panel out to the edge of the framing, so that's now flush to the surface. So again, the panel and the water meter are pretty much the only things that essentially obstruct anything in the train room, and the water meter is going to be below the bench work. Dropped ceiling was actually a little bit below the window, so these will still be able to open, but I just put a piece of 1x to attach the track to and painted it to match the walls. So I used a kind of a grayish sky blue. Haven't really decided yet how I'm going to treat the backdrop, whether I'm going to paint it right on the walls or whether or not, not sure what the focus problem is, or whether or not I'll put masonite on top of the drywall. That's to be determined. So I used a color that could be like kind of a gray hazy sky, and I looked at the color that I was using for the backdrop last time, and this color, blue-gray, is actually complementary to that, so I think regardless of what I do, I'll be okay. So these are still the bits of the old railroad. I've gone through some of them, like the staging yards from the old railroad where nothing was ballasted. I pulled all that track and pulled all the wiring off those, and so those got scrapped, so the pile's a little bit smaller. Here is the tub O track, so this will all get reused in some way, shape, or form, as will some of this lumber is actually left over from framing. You know, unfortunately, the guy who framed it for me overbought a little bit on lumber, which usually wouldn't be a big deal except for lumber prices when they were in whatever it was, last August or whenever. They were a little bit more expensive at that point in time. Alright, we're going to walk into the side that's a little further along, and you should notice right away a drastic improvement in light level. That is because on this side I have the drop ceiling mostly installed, and I've got 2-foot by 2-foot LEDs already operational. And over here I've got LEDs, just a little bit of drop ceiling. The channel and track is all in. I'll put some of the panels in, but I need the city inspectors need to be able to see the wiring for the lights, so I'm going to leave most of the panels out. Again, I have the 2 windows here. Those are boxed down just a little bit to have the track fit in properly. And then here's the door out to the Bilco door to the driveway. So we are getting there. Still a ton of work to do, but I'll tell you, the drop ceiling is going a lot faster than the taping and spackling I did myself, as well as all the electrical work. I paid someone to hang the sheetrock for me. He actually said he couldn't get to it for like 6 or 8 weeks, and I said, well, what if I tape and spackle? He said, oh, I can do it next week. So you do what you have to move things along. I have sweeped and vacuumed this floor I don't know how many times to try and eliminate as much of the dust as I can, but there's still going to be dust removal for a long time. But again, that's why I went with the drop ceiling, because this time around I just want to try and minimize dust. And to that end, I am probably going to just use like garage, you know, high quality garage paint, and paint the floor some kind of gray color too. Just not really for any other reason than just to try and control dust. I may have small, you know, runners or carpets or something, because walking on concrete's not the greatest over time. But so I really am happy with the light level. I think will be interesting to see. I may have to come in and and put some LED strip lights on the bottom of the soffits, particularly over here. This is the area, somewhere probably around in here will be the staging yard, and then 16 inches above that or so will be Clearfield bench work. So I probably will need some LED strip lights under at least this soffit, so we'll see. But it is nice having such a high level of illumination. And while not typical for a usual installation, I actually set the LED panels, about 2 feet off the wall, which is closer than you would usually do it. But given that my bench work will be about 2 feet, I didn't want people standing in the way to create a shadow on the railroad. So while it to some extent looks reasonably conventional in spacing, I did make some modifications to make sure that it works for the purposes that we're using for here. So just a quick update, and don't know how many weeks away we are from starting bench work and moving. It's amazing how much stuff you have. We were purging for almost a year in advance of moving and still have stuff. But some of this will get hidden under the bench work. Some will be repackaged or organized in a better fashion, and some of it actually is railroad stuff, so that's allowed. We'll let that go. But so I'm not sure how many weeks it's going to be till we start building bench work, but hopefully this fall. Yeah, you can see just how much darker it was over here with just a couple of lights. And I'm not really sure. I think the last time, we'll even go in here too. So I did get my sink installed, got a piece of plastic cut, got my paper towels here. So I'm getting set up, and I've used the crap out of this sink already, just doing the painting and taping and spackling. So I'm not really sure. We may have some space for some railroad or other storage in here as well, but I'm very happy with the notion of keeping as much of the utility stuff in this closet so that there just isn't that excess clutter out in the railroad room. So yeah, this was fun. Snapping the chalk lines. Actually ended up using a laser on this part because, as I've mentioned before, this run is almost 64 feet long with the walls. So it's kind of tough to pull a chalk line that taut to be able to get a good snap at 60 some feet. But laser worked out perfectly. You probably can't see it, but yeah, there you go. I've got all of my wire hooks are already set up. On this side, the wall channel is all up, and they've actually started. You can see one piece of main beam. I've got to pull this duct out, and then these will get affixed into the drop ceiling. So still a bunch of stuff to go, but edging closer and feeling like I might actually get to start building a railroad in 2021, which is good because we're coming up on November. I think will be a year for me without a railroad. So looking forward to it. Wanted to give everybody a brief update. I will put this up on YouTube, and hopefully we'll talk to you in no more than 30 days. I'll have something else at least valid to show you. All right, stay tuned.